Hello, everyone. Welcome to our second roundtable for budget engagement. My name is Sarah Mathers. I am the first deputy of community engagement. Oh, I'll take a round of applause. We love it. Let's start the night off right. All right. Thank you so much. I want to thank everybody for joining us this evening. I think I saw some alders in the crowd. Thank you for being here. Also, there have been folks who have been a part of our of planning these, and I'm really happy to have them here as well. I want to thank all of our engagement councils, our advisory councils, our task forces, our working groups, and I want to thank you guys for showing up this evening and being a part of this. So let's do that again. Let's have a round of applause. That's right. All right, we're going to bring some joy to this. That's right. Thank you so much. We're happy to see you and to engage with you on your thoughts on how to make this city stronger. But we have a lot of things to cover tonight, and you know we got started a little bit late. So we're going to dive into it. And we started thinking about this night back in January. Actually, we started thinking about it last year, but we started planning for this night in January. And it's been a long road to get here. We're going to go over how we got to this point a little bit later, but let's first hear from our mayor, Brandon Johnson, to discuss how these conversations impacted last year's budget and how they will be helpful in making our decisions this year also. So please, let's welcome Mayor Brandon Johnson to the stage. Thank you.
Well, thank you, everyone. Good evening. I'm so appreciative of you all taking time to put forth your effort for this very important discussion, how we actually invest in people. Your feedback and ideas, and even your criticism, it's vital to building our city's budget. We know that you are the experts of your own experiences, and you know what your neighborhoods need. You also know the challenges that we are facing and what our communities are ultimately calling for. With your knowledge and voices, we can best allocate funds towards housing and homelessness support, community safety, neighborhood development, mental health care access, as well as public health as a whole, our environment, and so much more. We want the people of Chicago to be with us every step of the way throughout our budget process. My administration is committed to practicing co-governance. We are building and expanding partnerships with communities and stakeholders all across the city to bridge the gap between government and her people. This administration is doing things differently, and we're doing it alongside of you. By continuing to expand and innovate the ways in which we collaborate during this budget process, we are ensuring that all of our residents' voices are heard and that their needs are better met. Last year, we showed our commitment to gathering community input by expanding our budget engagement process, even adding an event dedicated to our young people to ensure that we are hearing from their experiences and hearing their voices. And we started the process earlier in the year to allow departments to hear from the public before submitting their budgets. And we heard you. We heard you for our 2023 budget. And by listening to your priorities, my 2024 budget invested $100 million in community safety, $15 million in mental health, more than $25 million in climate initiatives, $250 million in homelessness support, and we were able to increase youth employment opportunities by 20%, creating an additional 4,000 jobs for our young people. Today, we are proud that 27,418 young people have summer jobs because of the work that you all put in. So This year, we use the expertise and perspectives of cities' engagement councils, advisory councils, and other community partners, businesses, non-for-profit stakeholders to bring true collaboration into our budget engagement process for the first time in Chicago's history. And we work with community representatives, empowering them to design the structure of today's roundtable discussions. Expanding our collaboration with your help, it provides us with the necessary steps that we have to take to move in the right direction, to reverse generations of disinvestment in our communities, and to create a more equitable and safe city. But please know that achieving our vision will take time, long-term investments. So I need you to stick with me. This is our second budget. So we have 22 more budgets to pass before I pass it on to the next mayor. But truthfully, I'm really honored. Oh, thank you. There's one person that wants to see me elected 6 terms. That's okay. It's fine. Forget y'all. Shoot. No, I'm teasing. But in all sincerity, I'm truly honored that you all are here to help guide our budget process, because you're making sure that we get it right, and that we get it right for the people of Chicago. I really look forward to hearing your thoughts and your ideas, and know that in order for us to build a better, stronger, safer Chicago, it's going to take all of us. I'm grateful to Alders Angela Clay, and yes, you can clap for her. And then Alder Andre Vasquez is here as well. So I can't wait to build the 2025 budget. God bless you all. Let's have a great event tonight.
Thank you, Mayor Brandon Johnson. Appreciate your leadership and your commitment to the city of Chicago and the guiding principles that brought us here today. One of the things that we heard from you guys loud and clear in the past is that you wanted more transparency on what goes into the budget and how it is built. So we created a 12-minute video that's been up on our budget engagement website for several months now as kind of a Budget 101 primer. So pop quiz. Who's watched the video? Okay, not nearly enough of you. I see some good hands here. Okay, good. I know that there's been people in my department and throughout this said, oh, I learned something. So please, go home and watch it if you haven't, but you don't actually need to now, because we have somebody who's gonna give us an in-person lesson this evening. Now, I know it says Annette Guzman, Budget Director, and I think that we can all agree that that does not look like Annette Guzman, Budget Director, but we do have a wonderful stand-in this evening with Jeff Garceau, who is, I'm going to let him introduce himself because I actually don't know what his title is. He's really great, and he narrated that 12-minute video. So you guys are going to get like the rock star of the budget videos here. Come on up here, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, everyone. I'm Deputy Budget Director at the City of Chicago, Jeff Garceau. Thank you for having me. And yes, go watch the video. I produced it and narrated it. So this first slide here talks about the organization of Chicago. And one of the things that you see at the top is the Chicago residents, because we work for you. You are our hiring managers. You decide who gets the big job, and he decides who the rest of us are. And then below that are the city council, the mayor, the city clerk, and the city treasurer. Those are the elected officials of the city of Chicago. The mayor oversees the executive branch that includes the office of the mayor that oversees all the different departments. There's 35 departments in the city. The finance and administration, legislative and elections, city development, community services and public safety that we like to call community safety, regulatory and infrastructure services. The budget office actually produces a book every year that accompanies the main budget. It's called the Budget Overview, and we give descriptions of every one of these departments, what their key functions are, what they're doing, and so we encourage you to go to our website and download that book for free. What is not in our budget are our sister agencies. So everything on the previous slide is a part of the budget and is a fair game for this discussion today. But what is not in the budget are our sister agencies, Chicago Public Schools, the Chicago Transit Authority, Chicago Park District, the Chicago Housing Authority, and our wonderful guests, the City Colleges of Chicago, and we're very grateful for them for hosting us tonight. But those are sister agencies that have their own taxing authority, they have their own governing bodies, so they actually are not included in the primary city's budget. So we won't be talking about what they do tonight. Why do we have to pass a budget? And do we have to pass a balanced budget? Yes, we do. The state of Illinois requires that all municipalities pass a balanced budget. They require that the mayor give his recommendations for the budget to the city council by November 15th of each year. We usually do quite a bit better than that. And then the mayor, upon taking office, signed an executive order requiring that we do a budget forecast by the end of September each year. That we developed that in collaboration with the Chief Financial Officer's office as well as the Department of Finance under the Comptroller. And that gives us an idea of what you've heard of maybe as the gap, what is going on between our expected revenues and our expected expenditures, and the savings and efficiencies and revenue options that we have to explore in order to create that balanced budget that's required by the state. So those are the required steps that we have to take each year. What goes into the budget? Well, the revenue funds by type. The main thing that we discuss here is our corporate fund tonight. That's kind of our general operating fund, and that's what the mayor and city council have the most discretion over how it gets spent. Special revenue funds are like the revenue funds that come in for the airports. A lot of the fees that are paid when you go to the airport, that actually directly funds airport operations. So they're a little bit more restricted in how they're able to be used. The pension funds that fund the pensions for city workers. Debt service funds that when we issue bonds to help pay for infrastructure, what we have to pay those bonds back and pay that debt off, that's what the debt service funds are for. Enterprise funds are also things like airports and things like that. And then our grant funds, which is our funds that we receive from the state, from the federal government, and other outside sources. And they put certain restrictions on. A lot of times they'll say, we want you to use this money in this way. So we have limited flexibility compared to the corporate fund and how we use those resources. Different revenue types within the corporate fund are intergovernmental revenue. So we get some revenue that comes in as tax revenue from the state that we have a bit more flexibility in how we use it. Local tax and non-tax revenue. So your taxes, but also the fines and fees and permit fees that you pay. Prior year available resources that we have left over from good financial stewardship. And then proceeds and transfers in, which is kind of a catch-all for all the smaller buckets of money that we bring in. What do we spend the money on? If you look across all funds, you'll see that the corporate fund is the largest. However, the enterprise funds and the grant funds are also quite large, as well as the pension funds. Special revenue funds, another one is like the telecom fee that you pay on your cell phones. That's smaller, and then the smallest is the debt service funds. Within the corporate fund, our largest expenditures are on public safety and general financing. We also have expenditures on infrastructure and community services, as well as city development. But I want to note that that's just what we spend from the corporate fund, because a lot of the grant dollars that come in from the state and federal government are for those community services, for city development, and for infrastructure. So just because you see a small percentage in the corporate fund doesn't mean that that's emblematic of what the city is spending on those things overall. I want to take a moment and talk about what the strategic investments are that address community input. We took that information that we took back from last year's roundtables and looked at it and thought about what we could do to help reflect your priorities. That's why those surveys that you received when you walked in are very, very important. It's very important that you fill those out and complete them and hand them back in at the registration desk when you're done. If you didn't get one, you can go get one. We also have QR codes up there if you'd like to take them on your phone. And also, we really encourage you to take those QR codes and share them with your community, because we want to hear from as many people in the city of Chicago as we can. But one of the things was mental health expansion that the mayor alluded to earlier. One of the things that you did is that we saw in the surveys and notes from last year is that you really wanted to focus on addressing the root causes of health issues, and we did that through investments in community health workers, expanding the alternative response teams, which are our alternative response to police and fire only as response to 911 calls. And then we expanded our mental health clinics. The mayor announced that we were opening more mental health clinics this year. I believe we're expanding 3 this year, either new locations, reopening old locations, or co-locating them with other city services. We expanded youth employment. This was actually, in the surveys from last year, the most overwhelmingly thing that we heard from people is that we wanted youth employment opportunities for young people to go out and make their own money in meaningful employment opportunities. So we invested in that. Summer and year-round jobs, $66 million, supporting up to 4,000 additional jobs through One Summer Chicago, and adding 5 additional youth coordinators to the Youth Service Corps, and expanding the department's student intern program, doubling funding for that program from the year before, supporting over 260 interns paid at new minimum wage rate. And then climate and environmental investments. That was also something that came out as a very high priority that we saw in the surveys. So we reestablished the Department of Environment, and we invested more money in lead service line replacement supports. There are 6 different programs, and those are actually one of the programs that we're going to be discussing specifically in the environmental justice and infrastructure topic area. So if you're really interested in learning more about lead service line replacement programs, really encourage you to spend one of the discussion topics in those tables talking to people who are here from the city to talk to you. Talk a little bit about the budget calendar. Community engagement began earlier than ever this year. We started it back in April. I'll let Sarah elaborate a bit more on that. In July is when we do our budget kickoff with departments, as well as the community engagement process kind of culminates in these roundtable events. Then throughout the rest of the summer is when we publish the forecast, as well as working with departments to create a balanced budget. In the fall, the mayor submits that budget recommendations to City Council. Hearings are held in the City Council's budget committee with each department. Those are open to the public if you want to attend. They're also live streamed on the City Clerk's website. So if you want to watch and see the departments go before City Council, answer questions about their budget, that's always there and available for you to do. And then City Council approves a balanced budget by December 31st. That goes into effect on January 1st of the next year. A lot more information exists on all this and all the publications that we produce, and we put a lot of them on, well, pretty much all of them on the OBM website. There, first things you'll see is we do a monthly revenue report that lets you know how our revenue sources are performing, as well as a quarterly budget report that's kind of an update throughout the year. Then we do our budget forecast, like I said, that focuses strictly on revenues and expenditures. Then the budget recommendations that are accompanied by the overview book, the community engagement report, and the budget equity report. And then finally, the past budget ordinance and grant detail that gives all the details on every single line item of the grants that we receive. Thank you.
All right, guys, give him a huge round of applause. He literally just had to do this like in 5 minutes. So another big one for Jeff, please. Thank you. Great job, Jeff. We appreciate it. All right, folks, we're going to discuss how we got here this evening. All right, as you heard Jeff say, we started back in April, talking to our city departments and saying, hey, we want to have more focused conversations. That's what we keep hearing from people. How can we have more focused conversations? So we asked our city departments, give us a list of programs and projects that you want more engagement on, so that we can have these focused conversations. And we said we wanted to talk to our advisory councils, our engagement councils, and to them, and to help them, have them help us to design what these tables looked like. And so we did this in a comprehensive 3-phase process so that we could design our 2025 fiscal year budget, led by Department of Mayor's Office of Community Engagement, as well as the wonderful Jeff and others from the Department of Budget, and in collaborations with the Great Cities Institute from the University of Illinois, Chicago, and then co-designed with our community stakeholders. We did this all underneath a framework based on participation, equity, education, transparency, and accountability. We started again back in March, and we asked our city departments to pull down that list for us to say, what things do you need more engagement on? And then they gave us a huge list. It was really long and it was really wonky, and we turned it into a survey. And we asked our city our engagement councils and our advisory councils and our task forces to help us narrow down this list. Look at this list, take the survey and say, how does this impact my community? How does this make, work for me. So we asked them to look at that list and to pare it down. Then we brought together a smaller group to also look at that list and to say, okay, what are conversations gonna look like if we had these? How can we even more so pare that down, make sure that we can have accessible conversations in these roundtables that are useful for our city, departments, and our community. So we did that in phase 2, in that co-design roundtable. They also discussed, hey, do we want to have city departments even here? Or do we just want to talk as a community? How many topics, how many sessions are we gonna do? We did all of that with our co-design stakeholders. And that leads us to here this evening. Right here tonight, we're in phase 3 of this, where we have our public conversations, allowing people to say, here's what these programs mean to me, here's what's important to my community, and here's how I want to see my city show up for me. So that's what we're doing here tonight, and that's what you're doing here tonight. So let's keep that energy up and give a round of applause for that. Wonderful, thank you. Now, after we finish this evening, the departments have a lot of work. They're gonna take this information. Our friends at Great Cities Institute are gonna compile it all. They're gonna write down everything you say. That's why Jeff is pushing those surveys, because that's really important data for us. We're gonna look at the notes and the comment cards. Taya and her team are going to pull it together into a very long report. And let me guess, how many people in this room have read those reports in the past? She wrote it, so that one doesn't count. I'm gonna say about 3 to 5 people have read them, but it's really good information, so please check it out. It's all on the website. All of this stuff is here. We are trying to make sure that it is at your fingertips. After that's compiled, then it goes to the departments write their budgets, it goes to the city council, it goes to the mayor, it does all that stuff. And we're looking forward to doing all of that stuff with you. But tonight, what we're gonna talk about under 5 different topic areas are those identified programs that we pared down in a number of different phases. When you walked in, you should have received that information in a packet. And these are the department or the programs that we want to try to focus conversations around. Now we know you guys are here and you want to talk about the things that impact your communities, and we're happy to hear those also. But if we want to try to focus conversations, we have to narrow our focus a little bit. So please try to give some feedback about these programs as well. All right, so I'm not gonna go over all of them, they're there. We also have videos outside if people prefer watching things. I sent them to you in an email. Another raise a hand if anybody watched my videos. Thank you, this woman is reading the budget, she's watching the videos. We appreciate it. But you can go outside and watch those videos if you wanna get quickly caught up around it. But what we're gonna do tonight is 3 rounds of 30-minute conversations, all right? And we have several breakout tables around here. We have people from the departments sitting here to listen to you. We want to hear from you. We want you to be the ones filling the air with your concerns and your thoughts around things. And we'll have people taking notes. You're welcome to leave a comment card. Please fill out the survey as much as you can. Get out on the QR code if you prefer doing it that way. And we'll also have a little area where you can record a video in case that's the way that you feel most confident and comfortable expressing your thoughts about things. So we're giving you a lot of different ways to engage with us this evening. We appreciate you being here. Like I said, there will be a report that comes out later. Stay tuned for it. It's going to have your comments in it. But tonight, we want to hear from you. We want you to do this, so let's go forth and engage. Thank you very much. Round of applause. Thunderous. Thunderous. We'll give you a couple warnings before we ask you to move on to the next table. You can stay at one table all night, or you can move around. All right, thank you, everyone. Let's get started. Thanks.